again and welcome back. You're watching and listening to Breakfast with Anne and Martin.
OK, now let's take a look at some of today's front pages now. And the Daily Telegraph reports on the extra pressures on the NHS from the junior doctors' strike. The paper says they've cost the NHS a staggering £1 billion so far.
Annabelle Croft there on the front. She's on the front of quite a few papers because she's in the Strictly lineup. The Daily Express here leads with a picture showing a very packed small boat with migrants trying to cross the Channel. It says the number of migrants reaching the UK by small boats since 2018 has topped 100,000.
And the Guardian's front page features the quote from the head of Greenpeace saying Rishi Sunak will go down in history for failing on climate.
The Eye, meanwhile, leads with the mortgage rates war as competition increases now amongst major lenders.
And the FT reports on the collapse of retailer Wilko. The company went into administration yesterday, putting 12,500 jobs at risk.
And as I promised you, going through the papers with us now is former editor of the Daily Star, Dawn Neeson, and GBNEWS senior political commentator, Nigel Nelson. And a very good morning to both of you. Right. You wanted to know what a gay time was. It's an ice lolly.
I missed that, yes,
well,
sorry.
It's like a fab. You know, the ice lolly that's covered in hundreds and thousands?
Yeah.
It's like a fab, but in Australia they call them gay times.
Yeah.
When I was in Australia pregnant with baby number 2, I had an absolute thing for gay times. I had to go out and buy 2 or 3 a day.
Yeah. You're in the right country then.
I know.
That's a great headline, isn't it? Anne Diamond's gay time in Australia.
Well, we've had quite a few messages from people watching in Australia.
We have. There's some from Brisbane, and it's fair to say there's a little bit of the old carry-on going on the double entendres.
There's a bit of double entendre going on, yes.
Yeah, as you'd imagine.
But we were commenting that, isn't it interesting that they haven't, I mean, whoever makes them, it's either Nestle or Walls, I think, have not succumbed to wokery in changing the name.
Good for them.
Because Gay Times has a part in the heart of Australian people.
It's got a part in other places.
Well, they're happy lollies, aren't they?
They are very happy lollies.
As opposed to a depressing lolly. What's a depressing lolly?
Oh, there are several.
But the funny thing is, apparently it says online that their popularity has soared because of their name.
Perfect.
They've developed a cult following, as you say.
Go down to Sydney, have a go time.
Absolutely.
Probably get cancelled these days.
Because
Anyway.
some people still have a sense of humour, evidently.
Thank
right.
goodness. Yeah, we need one at the moment, don't we, Dawn?
Oh,
You've been looking at the Times and, of course, the migration situation.
Yes, you do need a sense of humour to look at the papers today. Again, the migration story is on most of them at one point or other.
It's a staggering front page, that image. You
really is.
Well, this
you can't see that online.
Every time you look at these pictures, and I hate myself for doing it, I'm going, where are the women? Where are the children?
Yeah.
Once again, they're all young, fit, fighting-age men. It's almost become a cliche now, but that's exactly what. But this is Russian migrant crossings takes Channel total past £100,000. And if you're trying... £100,000? 100,000 in number. People, even. Now, if you're trying to get your head around what that actually means, that's like the population of Rochdale.
Yeah.
Basically. So it's quite a few people. And the RNLI rescued this latest boat full. And this, I think you were talking about it earlier on. They say they sort of like the Border Force boat broke down.
Yeah.
The drone, which cost us £400,000, crashed into the sea. So the RNLI had to go and rescue this latest group. And that's... but meanwhile, we still have 136,779 asylum applications still to be processed.
Yeah.
And it's just, you know, one of Rishi's pledges, I mean, there were 5, weren't they? How many has he achieved? Not entirely sure. None. Pledged that he would stop this, and it's a 25% increase year on year.
And Nigel shows no signs of ending. In fact, it's mentioned in the same article that today and tomorrow are what they call red days, basically perfect crossing opportunities. They're expecting the numbers, the records to be broken today and tomorrow again. But politically, this has become a central tenet of the next general election. This was a disastrous day for Rishi Sunak, acting tough on the ECHR, on Turkey, on the Ascension Islands, on all sorts of new deals, and yet these numbers come crashing in, Nigel, at the worst possible time for Rishi.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I mean, he says that he should be judged by his 5 pledges. One of his 5 pledges is, I'm going to stop the boats. No chance now of doing that by the end of the year. I mean, I think that the trouble with figures like this is they ought to be put in context, because if you go back a bit, back in 2018, there were only 297 Channel crossings. And what has been happening since then is they've been going up and up and up. But back then, we were also able able to send 1 in 3 back to Europe. And this is the problem we've got at the moment, that we haven't got those returns agreements with European countries. The only returns agreement we have is with Albania. 90% of Albanians, there's been a cut of 90% in the number of Albanians coming over. So those kind of things work. What I'm failing to understand is why Rishi Sunak is not putting in place things that will A, discourage channel crossings, and B, are a bit more workable than the things he's doing at the moment. I mean, it just seems to me that Bibi Stockholm, Rwanda, all of them are a bit gimmicky. There's nothing there that will actually solve the problem, and I appreciate it's a global one. He'll need...
Yeah, but he said he vowed to stop the boats.
Exactly.
He didn't vow to, accommodate people when they get here. He vowed to stop the boats, and the boats haven't stopped. And in fact, as you said, because of the weather, we're going to see an awful lot more.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it was August, September, October last year saw the highest number of crossings. To be fair to Rishi Sunak, there has been a 12% decline year on year this month. The month's just gone. But I wonder if that's because we've had just a rubbish weather.
Yeah, I think it is the weather, and if you look at the weather forecast for the days ahead, which looks like
it's going to be good.
That picture there, it's basically look. The channel looks like a mill pond.
Yeah, it's
and the
very
guys
calm.
just sat on the edge. They're waving to the cameras. This is not a harrowing crossing.
Why did we lose a drone? What happened to it? Do you know?
Just got out of control and crashed. Operator error.
Let's look into the politics of where the Mirror's looking at the moment, about Theresa Villiers and what she had interests in while she was also Environment Secretary.
Yes, this is a strange one, that she had £70,000 invested in Shell. She didn't seem to notice this and has only recently declared it, and that's how we actually know about it. It does seem extraordinary if you have that kind of figure in fossil fuels when you're the Environment Secretary, when you're leading on climate change, that you didn't actually say, well, hang on, perhaps I should actually get rid of this stuff.
Or at least declare it, which she was meant to do.
She was meant to declare it, yes. I mean, any shareholding over £70,000 an MP must declare, and she clearly hadn't noticed the fact that she had a shareholding over £70,000 in fossil fuels. So she has apologised for it, but it's just an extraordinary lapse. And you'd think, when she became Environment Secretary, that the civil service normally get round their minister and say, no, what have you got tucked away there so we know if there's anything coming out? And she'd forgotten.
To be fair, she did buy the shares before she was involved in the environment, and the fund was, I'm just playing devil's advocate here, by the way, the fund was looked after by a fund manager. Now, I don't have shares in anything, so I don't know necessarily how this works, but does
They're always
everybody...
blind trust. You're absolutely right, if you're a minister,
so she might not have known.
No, I mean, what happens is there's things like Rishi Sunak is very wealthy, but that wealth is managed
by other people.
By other people, yeah. So they don't know the day-to-day workings of it. But when you're Environment Secretary, the first thing you think of is, what things have I got that might be embarrassing?
Yes.
So she ought to have known she had these things.
I wonder how much of this, though, Nigel and Dawn, is just political tit for tat. I mean, we've seen, for example, Dale Vince, who donates to Just Stop Oil, donating £1.5 million to the Labour Party. So on the one hand, the Conservative press is weaponising the environmental credentials of the Labour Party. Is this just the same thing in reverse? They're trying to make, you're an evil consumer of fossil fuel.
If we're talking about Shell and the political tit for tat, of course it is, because we were in the run-up to an election, so that's what the papers are doing. The Mal also had that story about Dr Graham Buss, didn't they, the Just Stop Oil leading member, who had £1 million pension pot from, Shell. So it is that tit for tat, isn't it? So it's the papers doing what the papers do.
We're talking of the environment, though. You've been looking at the front page of The Guardian and what Greenpeace have been saying about Rishi Sunak.
Yeah, this is Greenpeace, who have written an open letter to Rishi Sunak saying he will go down in history for failing on climate. And they are also saying, well, he's not engaging with us anymore. We've been cancelled, basically. The government are now blocking our advisors from taking part in any, advising civil servants on environmental issues. On his roof. Exactly, Martin. Well, hello, you climbed on his roof. It's not going to make you go, let's sit down and have a chat over a cup of tea, shall we?
Yeah,
it's not going to win your friends, is it? So
there was a major error by Greenpeace. I mean, Greenpeace are, of all the environmental groups, they're the one that's most respected.
Yes.
To start clambering over the Prime Minister's roof is not the way to actually keep that respect.
No.
So I don't blame the government saying, OK, well, if you want to do things like that, we won't have anything more to do with you. But it is quite sad we're losing their expertise. For instance, the oil companies do talk to Greenpeace. Just Stop Oil and Extinction Rebellion won't talk to the companies.
Yeah.
And what Shell and BP say is, look, we want to talk to these people, we want to try and explain what we're doing, we want to hear what they think we should do. So this is a bit of a loss, but I don't blame the government for actually saying no. We don't want anything more to do with
PR
that.
disaster that, wasn't it?
Before we run out of time, I want to talk about the Costa del Dol on the front page of the Star, Nigel. Tell us all about it.
All these heat waves. So Brits are now looking for somewhere a little bit cooler to go on holiday. And according to the Star, that Belgium has now become a favourite. The Star's quite rude about Belgium. Says it's terribly boring, that all you can see in Brussels is 3 statues of a girl, a dog, and a boy having a wee. I would recommend, if you're going to go to Bruges. Bruges is the most beautiful town.
But would you go there for 2 weeks?
No.
That's the point.
You go there to go and see the sights.
Yeah.
You don't really go there to go and sunbathe.
No.
Yeah.
This is just a Star having a bit of fun with this, because this is a quote from the Chewy boss who's saying that, you know, the firm is expecting more bookings from people going to cooler places. And he mentions sort of like, the Nordic countries and Holland and places like that. And he goes, and Belgium. And the Star have obviously had fun with is what they do and sort of picked up on Belgium, which does have nice beer and chocolate.
And the most famous Belgian of them all?
Hercule Poirot.
Hercule Poirot.
It's only famous Belgium.
Can we name 2?
This brings up the subject of holidays, and there's a lovely piece in the Mail today by Tom Utley saying you don't really want a boring holiday because then you've got nothing to talk about afterwards. In fact, holidays become more interesting if something happened to you on them and you remember I don't know, when the aircraft had to turn around and go back again, or when, you lost one of your children.
Yeah, that sort of thing, because if, when you come back from a holiday, you go, do you have a nice time? And it's like, yeah, we had a nice beer, we sat by the pool.
Well, I was in Rhodes, so
lovely.
plenty happened to me in Rhodes with the fires.
Yes.
So
you see, you've got something to talk about.
Yeah, well, we did, and I talked about it a lot on GBNEWS.
Well, exactly, yeah. Tom Utley talks about how he was at Pompeii and one of his children climbed inside an urn and couldn't get out again. And he said this urn had survived Vesuvius, and yet they were actually at the point of having to break it open to get his child out.
And then they say, what's a Greek urn? Yeah.
Oh,
sorry.
God, that's dreadful.
Have you had any amazing moments on holiday?
Yeah, I had a bit of a hairy moment once in Queensland. I was in how do you put it? A very ochre Aussie outback bar.
You weren't having a gay time, were you?
I didn't have a gay time. I had a few beers though, and we played pool. We beat the locals at pool, and it got a bit fruity. And the police came in and escorted us out of town. 3 of us, me, Steve, and Andy.
Wow.
Yeah, because we were...
What, did you actually get arrested?
No, they escorted us out for our own safety, they told us.
Right.
But we remembered it. We remembered it.
You do remember it, yeah.
And we remember other times
yeah.
when we got arrested too on holidays. I shan't go into that now. Yeah. But you do remember the hairy
Have you had
times.
any interesting holidays?
I was just thinking, nothing that really stands out. I'm going to have a think for the next time round, aren't I? There must have been something.
Yeah, we were in Florida once, and at one of those teppanyaki tables where the chef's doing all these things on the hot plate in front of you, and one of my children leant forward and said, "That was fabulous." Just both his hands down.
Yeah.
Oh, ow!
3rd-degree burns. Had to rush to hospital.
Oh,
unbelievable times. I think if you take kids on holiday, you always have funny moments.
But that's not very funny, though, is it?
It wasn't. No, I'll never forget it. We dined
Actually,
out.
I've remembered one. I'll tell you next time. And kids and husbands on holiday are dangerous. I'll tell you about
30 seconds.
the Amsterdam story. No, I can't do it in 30 seconds.
Well, Dawn
needs censoring.
Her story in the next hour. But right now, well, we'll leave it there for the moment, shall we? Plenty more to come, including an update on that junior doctor's strike, which starts today. This is GB News. Here's your weather.